Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you one of my all-time favourite recipes for breakfast, which is buckwheat granola clusters. So first of all, I need to toast my buckwheat. So I've got 500 grams here. It's going on a tray which is lined with a non-stick baking mat. You can use parchment paper. So I've literally preheated the oven to 180 degrees and I'm literally just dry buckwheat I'm putting on the tray. If you can't get hold of buckwheat, you can actually go to maybe a Polish shop where they have kasha, or a Middle Eastern shop, you might be able to find it there too if you can't find it in your local supermarket. So I'm going to toast this for 12 minutes, 6 minutes on each side, and then I'll move it all around. So I'm going to pop this into my preheated oven, so come with me. Literally going here on the middle shelf in the oven. And I'm always putting my trusted timer on, so 6 minutes. Make sure you get it exact. And then leave it for 6 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to make the lovely sauce that goes on the granola. I'm going to get my stove on here. And then into here, I'm gently going to warm up odorless coconut oil. So that's going in. It's entirely up to you. If you like a hint of coconut oil, you don't have to use the odorless one. Mixing in here tahini, so this is raw tahini. That's going in. This is so luscious already. Anything that has tahini is like a match made in heaven. So tahini is like grounded sesame paste. Okay, that's going in. And then I'm using agave here. You can use rice malt syrup. You can use maple syrup or honey, whatever works for you. And I'm just going to gently heat this together. And then mix that in. So as you can see there, mix it together. You don't really need the hob on for too long. And then I'm going to add in, so here's the mixture there, all blended together. I'm going to add in, I'm using pink Himalayan sea salt, but you can use sea salt, it's entirely up to you. I'm going to add in 4 pinches. I quite like my granola to be quite salty because of the tahini and the sweetener. That's 3 and 4. And just give that a gentle mix. And then I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste. You can actually use vanilla pod. That's 1, and that's 2. So if you're using a fresh vanilla pod, you literally scrape down the length of it and scrape out the seeds. So this smells absolutely incredible. Let's have a little peep there. And just mix that together. And now I'm still waiting for my granola. That's got another 2 minutes. So when I take that out of the oven, I'm just going to mix it around and then I'm going to pop it back in for a further 6 minutes. Okay, so my granola is almost coming up to its first time in 6 minutes. I'm just going to get it out. Turn the timer off. Out and just pop it on the mat, and then I'm just going to gently just move the grains around just to prevent the edges from burning. I have got asbestos hands and sometimes I use my fingers, but probably don't advise doing that at home. So just literally move it all around, shovel it around so the edges don't get burnt. And this is just a form of toasting of the buckwheat. Then I'm going to pop that. I'm actually going to turn the tray round, so in case sometimes one part of your oven is hotter than another. So I'm just going to move that in. I'm going to pop it back in the oven for a further 6 minutes. And the timer is on. Okay, so my buckwheat granola has nearly had its duration in there for 12 minutes, 6 minutes on each side, and it's about to go off. I love this beeping. Right, so I'm going to get that out. Whilst I'm here, I'm actually going to turn the temperature down for the oven to, it's currently on 180. I'm now going to turn it down to 160. That is on the recipe. And there is a tray. Always bear in mind that your tray is hot. So what I'm putting in here now is pecans which I've broken in half. You can switch up the nuts. So for example, you could do half the quantity in pecans and you could do almonds. It's entirely up to you, but bear in mind some nuts cook better than others. So those have gone in there. I'm using here like a 4-seed mix. So I've got sunflower, sesame, pumpkin and linseed. It's entirely up to you what seeds you'd like to use. I'm going to mix that in. Okay, again, I'm just going to mix that all in. Move it all around. You can use a spoon if you prefer to get all the edges in. Maybe a spoon might be better to lift it up. Yeah, so use a spoon and get that evenly distributed around the tray and just bring in the sides as well. Okay, and then my favourite bit, what I like to do actually is make a well here in the middle so that you can pour this absolute lusciousness in. Look at that, it's like a Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. Amazing. So by using a spatula, you can really get around the edges, as my grandma would say, never leave anything in the saucepan unless you want to lick the bowl. Okay, so that's gone in. Literally, get your spoon and just pull it all together so that the buckwheat, pecans and the seeds are covered in this tahini sauce. So I'm just going to mix that all in. So I'm now going to bake this granola for 20 minutes, but I'm going to bake it for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to take the tray out like I did, excuse me, like I did before, and just move it around to prevent it from burning. So don't leave it in the oven when you're cooking. Keep an eye on it, keep the timer on. Don't make a phone call once it's in there and forget about it, otherwise you'll have burnt buckwheat granola. So this is one of my favourite go-tos for breakfast. If you follow me on Instagram, which is @myrelationshipwithfood, you'll see that I have this most mornings. My husband Jamie absolutely adores it. Also, it's great as a snack, so you can put it in your handbag or take it to work, like a trail mix. I don't know why I've lost my voice, but it's come back. Natural cooking show here. So blend it all in together. And then once you've done that, you want to literally flatten out the edges. So flatten it all out and just pull it in and mix it. But as I said, once you've mastered the art of this recipe, you can play around with your nuts. But as I said, some nuts do burn quicker than others, whereas pecans really don't burn that quickly. So that's why I like to use them in this recipe. But I have been known to using whole almonds, which are great too. So I probably do half and half quantity wise. Okay, so that is evenly pushed out. And then, as I said, I've turned down the oven temperature to 160 on the fan. And then the tray's hot, so I'm just going to pop this back in the oven. I'll just show you before it goes in how luscious it looks. And again, do not forget, as soon as it goes in, timer 10 minutes straight away. Okay, so my buckwheat granola's got almost 1 second left. Timer is off. Oh, the smell is amazing. Okay. And there is that. You just shut the door. And then literally just scrape through this lusciousness and just mix it all in. You just want to make sure that everything's sort of like coated and turned around to prevent burning. Although it is quite nice when you get crunchy pieces of pecan. And the whole thing about this buckwheat granola clusters is that once it cools down, it all goes into a big cluster. And then you just break it up, and then you've got like little chunks like that. So these are the clusters, like that. So I'm just going to carry on mixing this. If you haven't got a silicone baking mat, which I said earlier, you can use parchment paper, or you can find one of these mats online. Okay, so again, once I've mixed everything in and incorporated the grains with the tahini, I'm just going to bash that out with another spoon. And then again, just flatten it all out as much as you can, just for an even bake. And also you want it to kind of get a bit crispy, so don't have it too high up, because what you'll find is the edges go crispy and the middle is soft. So just push out as much as you can to the edge. This is a great breakfast for autumn with these lovely pecans here. The smell is absolutely insane. As I said, anything with tahini is a perfect combination. And then the saltiness of the salt cuts through the sweetness of the syrup. Okay, so this makes one large tray. In a big kilner jar you could put this into. So that is going back in the oven for a further 10 minutes. See you soon. Okay, so my buckwheat granola is almost finished, so we're going to walk over to the oven and turn that off now. And I'm literally going to get it out. And here we go. How delicious does that look? Going to sprinkle some extra seeds on top here. If you want, you can add raisins. I used to add raisins when I made this before I got married, but when I met my husband, he told me to take the raisins out. So I'm adding some seeds, but you could add banana chips, some other dried fruits, coconut chips, whatever you fancy. Don't go overboard, but just add whatever you want. So I'm just going to let this cool down, and once it's cooled down, I'm going to show you how it goes into clusters. I'm going to get my gloves on here because I want this to be totally hygienic here, because now I'm going to go in and do the fun part. And again, this is something that kids would love to do, although watch them, because you don't want the buckwheat granola going everywhere. So this is literally, as you can see as I lift it off, why it's going to be cool. Oh look, the whole tray can come up here. Buckwheat granola clusters. So you just literally break off a bit and then break off little clusters, as you can see here. There you go. How amazing these clusters look. So I've got a jar here, so I'm going to break it up and put this all in there. This keeps in your house probably in a jar for about 2 days, because it will be so delicious you'll be eating the whole thing. But no, quite literally, you can keep this in your kitchen in a kilner jar, glass jar, or a Tupperware box. It does keep for about 2 weeks. If you want to make it really crunchy, if it's gone a little bit soggy, you can actually put it into the fridge and it will harden up there. I love to have this on yogurt, or my favourite milk is tiger nut milk. You can also, if you want to be really different, if you're making a lovely salad and instead of using croutons, you can actually just crumble up a few of the buckwheat granola clusters. And as I said before earlier on, there's loads of things that you can add in terms of toppings. If you do make this recipe, please don't forget to message me. You can email me, lisa@myrelationshipwithfood.com, or if you're on Instagram, follow me on myrelationshipwithfood, and don't forget to use the hashtag myrelationshipwithfood, and I look forward to seeing your beautiful creation. And I'm sure if you're like me, you won't be able to resist a little morsel while you're breaking up the clusters.